Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to this edition of Balance in Life, where we are going to talk about rest and well-being. I am Crystal Tyler Mackey, happy to welcome you on behalf of Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Human Development Program team, and our partners in the Balance in Life series, North Carolina Cooperative Extension. I'm happy to have back with us my friend and colleague, Dawn Burton from Prairie View A&M University, all the way via Zoom from Houston, Texas today. Welcome back, Dawn. Good to have you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
So if this is your first time, welcome. We're happy to have you. If it's not, we're so happy to have you back with us. Now, I just wanted to share a couple things out before we get started. So this group, this 30 minutes goes really fast. However, we tend to be pretty active and engaged in our chat box. This is a Zoom webinar platform rather than a Zoom meeting. So in a Zoom webinar platform, when you post in the chat, if you do nothing, the only people who can see your question or responses or thoughts are Dawn, our presenter, my co-host Bethany Eigel, and myself. If you want others to see your question or your commentary, please choose the all panelists and attendees drop down in the chat bar, and that way other people can see your good thoughts and questions as well. So having said that, I am going to rest a little bit and listen to my friend Dawn tell us about rest and well-being and share with us some good tips and strategies. So welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Okay. Hopefully technology is working with me. Am I good with, can you see my screen?
You're good.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Excellent. Okay, so today, as Crystal said, my name is Dawn Burton, and the title of my presentation today is Rest and Well-Being. So my first question to everybody is, and please respond in the chat, are you your top priority? I mean, think about it. Take a minute. You have a lot going on in life. Most people are busy. COVID has everyone's emotions and thoughts and feelings kind of all over the place. But are you your top priority? If you say yes, but don't regularly prioritize getting good quality sleep and rest, I suggest you reevaluate your answer. If you say no, why not? You are the only you that exists. Proper self-care is vital to your short and long-term quality of life.
Dawn.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Some of us are very honestly saying nope. And some of us are saying yes. More of us are saying no. Some of us are saying yes. And there's also a good number of us that are striving. We're trying to do better. So it's sometimes we're iffy, we're trying to do better.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for sharing and being honest, whatever your honesty is. I appreciate you for sharing, because sometimes if you know, it's good to hear that you're doing a good thing and why you're doing a good thing, because habits set in and sometimes anything can happen that can throw you off kilter. So to say yes, that you are prioritizing yourself, I say kudos to you. Let me reinforce why you're doing wonderful things. If you say no, or you're still working on it, hopefully the information I share with you today will kind of enlighten you and persuade you to make you a priority. So let's go over a few statistics, some key information that you may or may not be familiar with. Did you know that sleep deficiency is a common public health problem in the United States, and people in all age groups report not getting enough sleep? According to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, approximately 1 in 3 American adults are not getting enough sleep. So that means that while there are a few people on here that are saying yes, there are quite a few, whether they realize it or not, that are just not getting enough sleep. Nearly 40% of adults report falling asleep during the day without meaning to at least once a month. And think about how scary that is, because you could be behind the wheel, you could be sitting in front of a Zoom meeting that is boring you to tears, but because you're tired, no matter how important it is, you accidentally kind of fall off or drift off and go to sleep. Also, an estimated 50 to 70 million Americans have chronic ongoing sleep disorders. Sleep deficiency is linked to many chronic health problems, including heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, obesity, and depression. And a common myth is that people can learn to get by on a little sleep with no negative effects. However, research shows that getting enough quality sleep at the right times is vital for your mental health, physical health, quality of life, and safety. And the damage from sleep deficiency can occur in an instant. Like I said, in a car crash, I'm hearing more and more about not only truck drivers, but regular everyday people who are, for whatever reason, falling asleep behind the wheel and injuring either themselves or other people, all because they did not get a good night's sleep, either short-term or long-term. The way you feel while you're awake depends in part on what happens while you're sleeping. During sleep, your body is working to support healthy brain function, maintain your physical health. And in children and teens, sleep also helps support growth and development. Sleep plays such a vital role in good health and well-being throughout your life. Getting enough quality sleep at the right times can help protect your mental health, physical health, quality of life, and safety. Some people aren't aware of the risk of sleep deficiency. In fact, they may not even realize that they're sleep deficient. Even with limited or poor quality sleep, they may think that they can still function well. For example, drowsy drivers may feel capable of drowsing, yet studies show that sleep deficiency harms your driving ability as much as or more than being drunk. And oddly enough, I heard this on NPR not too long after Crystal and I talked about it. And it's estimated that driver sleepiness is a factor in about 1,000 car accidents each year, resulting in about 1,500 deaths. So I talked about what could happen if you don't get enough, or mentioned that things can happen if when your body doesn't get enough sleep. So let's look at them. Let's talk about it for a minute. You can get sick. Losing sleep can impair your body's ability to fight off illness. This makes it easier to get sick. In particular, your chances of developing all of the physical ailments and diseases that I mentioned earlier can happen. Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, your risk for cancer increases. Shortened sleep is associated with higher risk of breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and prostate cancer. According to the one of those, the AASM sleep statement. People who don't get enough sleep or who get too much sleep increase their risk of developing onset diabetes. Can anyone relate to this? Does this sound like anything that you've experienced or you know about or you've heard about? You can't think. Go ahead, Crystal.
Yeah, Dawn, I was going to chime in as people are posting in the chat their responses, some yeses. I had shared on a previous Balance in Life session that a few years ago, I had endeavored very intentionally on a weight loss journey, and one of the things I was shocked to find out was the number 3. That when you lack sleep, there's a specific hormone in your body that it does all kinds of things. It pings around, but very clearly, scientifically, you gain weight. It's a common piece that happens. And so as part of that journey, in the weight loss journey, and about 70 pounds has been my weight loss journey that I went through and have been at, but a big piece of that was the sleep. So, and I was shocked. I just was totally shocked to know that was indeed true. So, and have seen the importance and the difference. So that was one for me.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, sleep and what it does also is if you don't get enough sleep at night, or maybe let's say you stay up all night, you eat more. And that's what also helps to contribute to the weight gain, is that you're up longer. And so you eat more because you're tired. Someone mentioned in the chat that you make poor food choices. That's true. And you gravitate to those cravings that you know you should not engage in. And so the weight does add on. It can There's a study that examined the relationship between sleep and weight in about 21,000 adults over the age of 20. And the people who slept less than 5 hours each night over the course of the 3-year study were more likely to gain weight and eventually become obese. And those who slept between 7 and 8 hours fared better on the scale. So, it's if you're thinking about weight loss, you got to remember, when you go to sleep, that is your body's opportunity to recalibrate, rejuvenate, and do what it needs to do to help you be the best person you are. And when you don't take the time to make good quality sleep a priority, you rob yourself of the opportunity to have good health. And so, number 4, for any males who might be interested, not getting enough sleep could also reduce your sex drive. One study from the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at young men who lost sleep over a 1-week period, showed a decrease in testosterone levels. And sleeping 5 or fewer hours reduced sex hormones by as much as 10 to 15%. The men also reported that their overall mood and vigor declined each consecutive night of interrupted rest. So it's affecting everything. And then being accident prone. According to the National Sleep Foundation, people are 3 times more likely to be involved in a car accident if they get 6 or fewer hours of sleep each night. So again, sleep is so important. Even though we might not be moving around as much during COVID, when we do get out on the road, it's important to be well rested. And not only well rested for getting out on the road and driving cars, but in older adults, you end up accident prone is related more towards falling. So if older adults are not getting enough sleep, they are more likely to fall and injure themselves. And we know that as we get older, our bones get more brittle, and that causes even more difficulty and health challenges. And then last but not least, we all tend to be concerned to some extent about how we look, right? Especially on Zoom, we want to make sure that we have a good presentation, but your skin suffers when you don't get enough sleep. In one study, a group of people between the ages of 30 and 50 were evaluated based on their sleep habits and the condition of their skin. The results revealed that those with too little sleep had more fine lines, wrinkles, uneven skin color, and marked looseness of the skin. The poorer sleepers were also more dissatisfied with their overall appearance than their well-rested counterparts. So, we spend money, or people spend a lot of money on makeup and beauty products and things to enhance their looks. And one of the key things that doesn't cost anything is just taking time to get some sleep. And getting that good rest will help to make sure that your skin is as beautiful as you'd like for it to be. What's going on in the chat?
A lot happening in the chat. One of the things that, a number of people, well, I'll say 2. One is the struggle around the other responsibilities that people have. A lot of caregiving responsibilities and things like that come up. And so really trying to work around some logistical challenges. But another piece that was coming up, a number of people were posting about they may fall asleep, but then they wake up. So the quality of the sleep is challenged.
Okay, we're going to address some of that. Let me skip on through, as I did see one question about how much time. So this is a recommendation on how much time you should, how much quality sleep you should get. It does vary from person to person. We're all different. So these are just the recommended guidelines. but these recommended guidelines have been thoroughly researched and vetted. And so it is within, it is a good range or approximation to shoot for. So I'll give you a chance to kind of look over that from newborns all the way to older adults. And the thing about getting good sleep and prioritizing and so much that we have going on is to really remember that if you don't take care of you, you're not going to be able to take care of everything else. And when you're dealing with people, especially older or younger people that might be difficult, if you're tired, then you're going to have a hard time being able to be as patient and calm and whatever you need to be with those people. So I know it's hard, but some of the things you can do is figure out maybe when you can take a nap, and scheduling things so that you can take a nap. Not too late in the day, but because that'll affect your nighttime sleep, but early enough so that you can get maybe a mid-morning break. And then also understanding what your sleep rhythm is. I am truly a nighttime person. So I know that if I stay up past 11, I could stay up all night long. But I also know somewhere between 5 and 6, my body is going to say no and need to shut down. So I am intentional. If I do have to push myself, I make sure that those crucial times when I need sleep or when my body says, no, this is my true sleep time, then I make sure that I figure it out and get some time to sleep during that time. So I encourage everybody to get to know what your rhythm, your body sleep rhythm is. You tend to sleep deeper at certain times. And so if you're able to tune in and figure out what those times are, then make sure that if all else fails, you are sleeping during those sensitive times for you. And you'll be able to feel more rejuvenated. And it's not a long-term practice in terms of limiting your sleep, but it is important to make sure that you listen to your body and that you prioritize time. If you need to ask for help, or if you need to get assistance in order to get some rest, then it's important to do so. And sometimes with kids, it's important to just lay down some rules and expectations to say, hey, this is my time to get sleep. Everybody should be sleeping. If it's not an emergency, it's starting those habits to say, this is sleep time, and making sure that you prioritize it. Because what happens is you're not only taking care of yourself, you're teaching your children or the people who are looking at you the importance of taking time and taking care of themselves. And while they might not realize it then, as they get older, it will definitely come into play, and they'll remember that. So some suggestions for better sleep: avoid heavy or large meals within a couple of hours of bedtime. Having a light snack is okay, but also avoid alcoholic drinks before bed. We don't realize sometimes how we self-sabotage. We want to take a minute and, we have a craving, so we give into it. But if that craving has caffeine, that possibly is sabotaging your ability to get some good sleep. Avoid nicotine, for example, cigarettes, caffeine, caffeinated soda. There are so many caffeinated drinks, snacks, that you really have to be careful and guard what you consume, especially as it relates to you being able to get a good night's sleep. The effects of caffeine can last as long as 8 hours, and some people are far more sensitive to caffeine than others. If I am not careful and I drink a caffeinated beverage after 3 o'clock, I'm going to be up late. I know I have friends and colleagues, they can drink coffee and then pass out, but I'm not like that. And so it's important to know how your body reacts to caffeine and then act accordingly. More suggestions: to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. I know this is extremely hard for people who are busy, but if there's any way you can figure out a schedule, asking for help, setting alarms, maybe you shift your life or your schedule so that you can just intentionally go to bed later so you can wake up a little bit later, or you go to bed a little earlier so you can wake up a little earlier, or you schedule some intentional downtime. Sometimes it's not the full-fledged during the day going to sleep, but it's just creating a space and environment where you can be quiet, be calm, be still, in a dark or a dimmed lit area and closing your eyes and allowing your body to relax, allowing your mind to relax, and that will help you to rejuvenate and create the peace that you need. Try to keep the same sleep schedule on weekends and weeknights and weekends. Limit the difference to no more than about an hour. Staying up late and sleeping in late on weekends can disrupt your body's clock sleep wake rhythm. And remember, we talked about it. Everybody's body rhythm is different. So it's important for you to figure out what yours is and then lean into that, support that. And if it's odd and it doesn't work with your schedule, I mean, you know, we all have challenges, but it has to be a priority. And think about things that help you to relax. Sometimes I can I can pass out and go to sleep on a broad sunny daylight. But other times I can feel when I need that rest, that deep rest. And so it has to be a dark room. And so you have to look at your environment. Are you making sure that the environment supports you getting good sleep? Are there distractions within the room? Not necessarily people, but you know, maybe you just didn't take the time to move stuff off the bed. So you're getting in bed and pushing stuff on the floor. That can be distracting and that can disrupt your sleep. And so it's important to make sure that not only when you prioritize your sleep, you take the time to prioritize making sure your sleep environment is suitable and accommodates that deep rest, because that is important. I see some stuff going on in the chat. What are they saying?
Which are chiming in with different things. Some are talking about what they do and the strategies that they use before going to bed, using that quiet time. Bethany, what would you like to call out? A lot happening.
Yeah, lots of different strategies that people are using, whether it's reading or some sort of pet to cuddle with, or just taking, you know, a small glass of wine, as someone said, that actually helps them to stay asleep. So, you know, it seems very much like people have to figure that pattern out for themselves, because like you pointed out, Dawn, we all have different patterns.
Yes, yes. And I love some of these ideas. I don't have a dog, but I could imagine cuddling with the soft, fuzzy dog would help me to relax at the end of the day. That's awesome. And it's, you know, it's important to really tune in to what relaxes you, right? And have that list in your mind of what you need. If you've had a stressful day, what relaxes you might be different than if you've had a great, exciting day and you just need to calm down. So knowing the difference in what is going to help you to get that good night's sleep is so important. And then also, if you realize that you wake up without feeling rested, you wake up tired and exhausted on a regular basis, it might be time to engage your healthcare professional, your doctor, with the conversation about what could be going on. Sleep apnea is a real problem, and they can diagnose that. Typically, if you're a snorer, there's possibly some sleep apnea going on, and the doctor can assess you and possibly give you a mask to help with that, or some kind of treatment to help with the sleep apnea, and your whole world will be so much better. Because rest is that core foundation. Sleep is that core foundation that you build the rest of your day off of. Spending time outside every day when possible and being physically active. It seems intuitive, but if you work out and get exercise and get sunlight, then you can actually sleep better because you have worked up the energy, and it's just overall a wonderful experience. So if you can go outside and spend some time, it brightens your mood, and then it does help you to get a good night's sleep. Keep your bedroom quiet, cool, and dark. A dim night light is fine if needed. Take a hot bath or use relaxation tips before bed. I saw someone wrote something about a weighted blanket. I did not know about weighted blankets until I went to my cousin over Christmas season. And every time I got under the blanket, I went to sleep, whether I wanted to or not. So I don't know if the weighted blankets work for everybody, but they definitely work for me. And if you haven't tried one, then I would highly suggest you try one. They have different weights and different textures. So if you're texture sensitive, make sure that you get a texture that you really like and feels good to you. But it's definitely something that I would recommend. Napping during the day may provide a boost in alertness and performance. However, if you have trouble falling asleep at night, limit naps or take them earlier in the afternoon. Adults should nap for no more than 20 minutes. And napping in preschool age children is normal and promotes healthy growth and development. It's amazing how, as much as some people want to get away from naps, the older I get, the more I love naps. To be able to just take a nap and rejuvenate, take a break. Like I said, sometimes it's not about going to sleep during the day. And in terms of a true nap, it's about giving yourself the time to take a deep breath, relax, relate, rejuvenate, and just find your sense of calm and peace so that you can move forward in a positive place. And so the five major types of well-being that sleep affects is emotional well-being, physical well-being, social well-being, workplace well-being, and societal well-being. The quote that I have is, your mindset matters. It affects everything from your business and investment decisions you make to the way you raise your children, to your stress levels and overall well-being. And to build your overall well-being, you have to make sure that all of these types are functioning to an extent. And I know this Balancing Life series touches on all of these different aspects. And so I just want to encourage you to, when you are stressed and you're not able to get some sleep, then I suggest going through like a checklist of these different categories to find out what you are stressed about and figuring out how to rework that stress and release that stress so that you can relax, because holding on to the stress before you go to sleep is only going to reinforce the negative habits and the difficulty and challenges of sleeping. I see that my time is up, so I'm going to stop. Thank you all so much.
Dawn, this is good. We have just a couple minutes to kind of do some wrapping up, and there's a lot going on in the chat. There are people who are posting so many different thoughts and ideas, and I really appreciate you framing this in terms of, you know, what works for us and what's going to be helpful for us, both our amount of hours of sleep, what our rhythm is, what helps us get to sleep. I read an article the other day I have a medical journal because I do things like that sometimes, but it was about sleep procrastination. And I was like, the headline caught me because I felt like as soon as I heard those two words together, I thought, I think I might be doing this. And so I read further. And sure enough, it's on the rise during the pandemic, that we get in bed, right? So you talked about that hour before getting prepared, and people were, you know, sharing what they do, whether it's deep breathing. Some were talking about, you know, reading a boring book. Some were talking about reading their Bible, prayer, meditation, quiet, like whatever it is you do in that space, right? So I call myself trying to get in bed before the hour that I say I need to go to sleep. Because if I say I try to, mine is 10 p.m. I try to get in bed at 10 p.m. But if I want to go to sleep at 10 p.m., I shouldn't get in bed at 10 p.m. So not only was that an issue, I get in the bed and then I do that sleep procrastination thing, like, oh, I better check one more time my emails. Oh, I don't know what the headlines are. And then people were posting like, avoid news before you go to sleep. And so I found myself procrastinating on sleep, even though I was tired. So anyway, I appreciate that, you know, sort of coming bringing back full circle the importance of really critical things. And I'll go back to like at the start, I think it was Melanie that posted, like, it's really interesting that those of us that are in spaces in our workspaces, in our personal spaces, wherever we are, so many of us that are on Balance in Life are in roles where we're helping to support and care for other people in many different ways. And yet we have to be reminded of the basics, right? It's really important that we're reminded of the basic things that we need to take care of ourselves. Sleep, rest, you know, eat, drink, eat properly, go to the bathroom. But so I'm working on being better, avoiding the sleep procrastination, giving that time. And I set an app on my phone that reminds me 15 minutes ahead. You're 15 minutes away from bedtime. And it just says, okay, if you go to sleep now, here's how many hours of sleep you're gonna need before it's time for you to wake up at 6:30. So it just kind of chimes it for me. But Bethany, you may have something for us because I saw Bethany post in the chat that her family knows, give her 8 hours or it's a problem. Bethany, what do you have for us?
It's a big problem. And I have older kids, so I have let it go, but I have to stress the importance of them getting into a schedule and rhythm for themselves because I have night owl children. That is not me. I had a night owl mom. So I really do appreciate Dawn pointing out that everyone has their different rhythms and patterns, and it's not for you to impose a schedule on someone else unless you're talking about very young children. But it is good to sit with what works for you, and it's very unique. I have people that I know that function very well on less than what was shown on that chart, and they don't feel negative impacts from that. So there are some of those unique individuals walking around, but I do appreciate how much this ties back to everything we do, period. And when we talk about resilience, when we talk about self-care, when we talk about putting ourselves first so that we can be there for others, all of those major themes that we've talked about in balancing life, this is one of those core things, like Crystal said, one of the basics. And somebody in the chat pointed out, it's so amazing how we don't give ourselves the time for the basics, like going to the bathroom and sleeping. And, that is necessary. And so, yes, to having an entire balancing life on that topic, because we don't talk about it enough. It's just one of those things we assume everyone is doing it, but we're not doing it right. So thank you, Dawn, for all these great pointers and the facts, the science behind what all it can affect, because, that's going to get my attention. Oh, my skin is going to look bad if I don't get sleep, and men might be like, oh, my sex drive is going to go down if I don't get enough sleep. But those kinds of things really underscore how fundamental sleep is when it's touching on everything, almost every aspect of our lives. So thank you for that. I enjoyed this session a lot.
Very welcome. I'm so glad that I was invited to do it. I just love this time with you all.
Indeed, me too. So someone just posted, I guess their mom was right about getting your beauty sleep. Yeah, apparently we just learned that. So this is it's just so rich, and it's so basic, and yet it's so good. And for many of us, connecting back to those tangible, those real things. When my physician showed me my blood work and showed the ghrelin and the leptin were two of the hormones where there's a direct tie between lack of sleep and weight gain. And I had struggled trying to lose weight. Like, what's going on? She's like, I think your biggest issue is your sleep. I'm like, whoa. And she's like, here it is. And so we tracked it monthly, right? My blood profile. And those were two of the things that got tracked. And it really, as the sleep changed, other things changed too, but really sleep was such a critical component. But I didn't know about the skin other than the bags under your eyes. So that's a takeaway for me too. So having said that, I'm gonna wish everyone great sleep this weekend, quality sleep. So, being intentional about the things that we do and the hours before it's time for us to go to sleep, right? Whether that's limiting caffeine or what you watch or read or think about or do, watching the things that could hinder, and then putting into some things that could be helpful for you. And then really being thoughtful about what that timing is, and sharing that out with the people around you, what it is you need so that you can show up better prepared to be there for other people. Easier said than done, no doubt. It's a journey, right? That first question you asked, some of us are trying, but I always like to throw something out there, as a challenge, if you will, for us. And I just challenge you to take one or two of those things on this weekend and be intentional about trying to implement something that's going to allow you to continue to or start to get more and better quality sleep and rest. So having said that, I want to thank everyone for being here. And invite you back this time next week. Alan Rasmussen will be on with us to talk about resilience and some of the core pieces around resilience and staying resilient regardless of the things that are coming our way. So thank you, Dawn. It was good to have you back with us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks all.
Rest
Thanks
well.
Yes, rest well.
Rest
Have
well.
a great weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.